Yo, what up, Sweet Ian? What up, my man? You got the Candyman here. Welcome to Friday Night Fights. Sugar Bets Live. Bring Ian into the stream.
How you
What's
doing,
up? How are you?
man? I'm good. Happy Friday.
Woo!
Happy 90-degree day.
Yeah, it's hot as shit.
Nothing
We got,
like a stout on an 85-degree day.
I got a nice red wine.
Oh,
Cheers. Cheers.
nice.
All right. We're gonna jump right in. So we got a fun fight night tomorrow night. It's always fun when we start to do our research for these and we get into the fights and we're like, this is actually a pretty great card. And that's really the case tonight. So, just to set the stage, what we're doing at Sugar Bets is we're combining the idea of expected value, so profitable betting over time, with Ian's general genius with UFC. So we listen to Ian, our oracle, and he's 100% right all the time. Just kidding. He's very self-conscious about that, but no, really, the idea behind what we're doing is we try to set a probability to everything, and then what you can do is calculate do the odds make sense based on that probability. So we let Ian kind of tell us what the fights are going to look like, and that informs our probability. Then I'll take a look at the odds, and we'll see if anything's a good bet. So with that said, let me start up. Let me just get the first fight on screen so everyone can see. All right, so we're going to start with Clay Guida and Rafa Garcia. It's a light heavyweight fight. Little guys, although they weigh more than me, so I'll shut up now.
Oh, is that me? Do I go now?
Yeah, that's your turn now. Tell us who's going to win this fight with 100% certainty.
Okay. I can't do that. All right. So first of all, I'm just honestly excited that Clay Guida is fighting at all still. He's like 41 years old. The man is like a walking 5-hour energy. He's just always bouncing. Doesn't matter if he's in the cage, if he's doing his post-fight interview, if he's like doing his walkout, if he's gearing up for the fight. He's just always on his toes. And he's just bouncing nonstop. That's the kind of energy that he has still at 41 years old. Thinking about like looking at this card, like you said, we do our research, which usually involves me just Googling what UFC is and then just making shit up for an hour.
Real quick, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second. I actually did I say it to you earlier? I said it to Jess at least, which is, do you ever just make shit up?
Never.
And I'm like, yeah, just like
it's 100% certainty, right?
You ever just make shit up? It's fun, especially in public. All right, sorry to interrupt. Back to Guida and Garcia. Back to 100% certainty betting.
You're talking to someone who was a fiction editor in an old life. So yes, I make shit up.
So is that a Mario font death metal hat?
Yes.
Rock on. All right, I'll stop.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet, right?
Rafa Garcia, Clay Guida.
Hafa. There's some weird names in this one. All right, so top to bottom, this card, like there's a couple of themes that I think just looking at it that I came up with. First is pace and pressure. That's going to be a deciding thing for a lot of these. And then the other one, as far as like the way that I lean, it's going to be more consistency. So Clay Guida has been, when you think about pace and pressure, you think about Clay Guida. 41 years old. He's always pushing the pace forward. He's always wrestling. He's always in people's faces. I don't know how he does it. Like I said, he's a walking 5-hour energy. He's going to try to wrestle. He's going to throw a lot of jabs, a lot of punches. Rafa Garcia, good wrestler, good in a lot of places. Obviously, the younger guy. I don't know that he has any physical advantages really, other than just being younger.
Same reach, same height, weight.
Yeah. I could see this being a 3-round wrestling match, just chaotic and full of energy. Garcia does have a tendency to gas out a little bit, something that Guida never does. So if it does get into a clinch game, does get into a wrestling match, I think it's going to be Guida's to win by decision.
All right, I like that a lot because let's pull up the odds, and I use Odds Jam to get my odds. So they show you all the sports books right now. We're in upstate New York, so we can just take a look, and you can basically get the best price. So, based on Ian's handicap there, he likes Guida, and I especially like Guida in this case because at DraftKings, which I'm logging into, given my face, and the two factor because they tend to get hacked. Not kidding. So I always have two-factor on DraftKings. Pro tip: two-factor anywhere you keep your money. All right, so Guida at plus 225 at DraftKings. So I mean, right away, I just like that bet because if you're getting over 2 to 1 odds on that at 225. So regardless of where you're betting it, honestly, I would just take Guida money line on this. Pretty straightforward. No need to get cute. We honestly think he's got a better than 50-50 shot to win outright. So we're essentially saying we think the odds here should be a lot closer than they are. And that is effectively a good bet on Guida. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to lock in Guida real quick on DraftKings for 1 unit at plus 225. Perfect. I love it. All right, let's go. Next fight up on the night. Let me switch it back to where'd the fights go?
That's a good one. And again, I never look at the lines before these because I don't want it to
Yeah,
influence the way that I think about the fights and stuff like that. But that's a good one that you say a lot, that if it's going to be a coin flip, let the odds just pick which way you go. I think that one could be a coin flip fight, and I'm actually leaning Guida. So
exactly. Yeah, pretty much because again, like if you're gonna get paid 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 on something that should be paid 1 to 1, 50-50, you're gonna make money in the long run. So we're always on the hunt like that for basically underdogs that we really think just have a better shot than the odds suggest. All right, next up, Pedro Munoz and Chris Gutierrez. Bit of a height and weight advantage, not weight, but height advantage for Gutierrez. He's got 3 inches and a couple inches on the reach. But Munoz is the slightly more experienced fighter, little couple years on him. So what do you think is going to happen here?
yeah, this is one of those ones that it's just back to back good fights. And what I just said about the previous one, it's a privilege to be able to watch Clay Guida still fighting. It's also a privilege to be able to continue to watch Pedro Munoz keep fighting. And for anyone who doubted, Clay Guida is a walking 5-hour energy. Just watch it. You'll see exactly what I mean. The man's just always bouncing. It's hilarious. So yeah, Munoz is used to having the height disadvantage. He's always typically the shorter guy, even at the 35 weight class. But he's getting old. He's 36 I mean,
Munoz is
getting old
36.
is, yeah, it's relative to MMA. I mean, some guys hit their prime when they're 34, 35, 36. Some guys, they don't develop the way they should until they're that age, but that's a small window because there's also a cutoff for that. There's a lot of older fighters on this card as well, Guida and Munoz being a couple of them. Munoz has fought everybody. He's literally fought everybody in the bantam and featherweight divisions for the most part. All the legends you hear about in those divisions, he's got his hands on them. Gutierrez is a guy that's up and coming. This is one of those classic fights that I know that you love. Up and coming guy versus old, grizzled veteran.
Yeah.
I think this could end up being a passing of the torch kind of situation for the weight class. I tend to lean the older veteran who's seen it all and done it all and been there. We just saw that last weekend with Rob Font getting the knockout.
Right.
I don't think that's going to happen here because Gutierrez isn't super green. He's beat guys. He's well developed. He's definitely got a speed advantage, a little bit crisper, I think. Munoz has he's one of those guys who, for as good as he is, he's not changing anytime soon, and he falls into patterns that sometimes he can't break away from. He'll throw like 1-2 step, 1-2 step, 1-2 step. It
Yeah.
becomes predictable. Great on the ground. I think if you're going to go Munoz at all, if I don't know if he's a favorite, I imagine maybe he is. I don't know. But if you want to sweeten it and you think he's going to take it, maybe go by submission. I think Gutierrez is probably going to get it done just with his pace. There's that word that I said is going to keep coming up. Gutierrez is just going to have the pace, the striking. I think he's probably going to end up taking it.
Do you think there's a chance, or what do you think the chance of Gutierrez getting a finish would be, either a KO or a sub?
I don't think it's super likely.
Okay.
Um, it's always possible because it's two grown men punching each other in the face, or trying to choke each other.
Tickling
Uh,
each other on the ground.
yeah, it's always possible, of course.
Tickle sub.
Munoz is durable though. For even for his age, he's pretty durable. I think I might be. Let me just double check, but I think his last fight was that O'Malley fight where, yeah, it was a no contest because he got poked in the eye in like the first round. Um, his fights before that, yeah, he lost to Dominic Cruz, Jose Aldo, Jimmy Rivera, or no, he beat Jimmy Rivera, but Dominic Cruz, Jose Aldo, and Frankie Edgar, top of the
Thank
weight class guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Naya.
Gutierrez
Tickle
is
tickle fight. Sorry. Addressing a comment.
yeah. Gutierrez doesn't have the credentials of those fighters, but I think he's got the skills. So
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting, the market mostly agrees, I think, with your passing of the torch statement because you can see here it's a pretty heavy favorite for Gutierrez. So what's interesting though is unlike the last fight, Munoz is getting more respect in the market. Where we had a plus 225 on the last fight. We were here we're only able to get at best plus 176. And so that's a tough one. This one I might stay away from, like you said. The other thing too is the over is also an overwhelming favorite. So it's when the market tends to agree with the handicap, it's just hard to find a good bet on it because the market seems to be in the right place. So usually for me that's just a simple pass. But like Ian said, if I'm a gambler too. So if you like to gamble, maybe take the underdog, but it sounds like the older guy's going to get it and most likely by decision. So if you're
yeah,
looking for plus odds, maybe Gutierrez by decision, or like you said early, Ian, Munoz by submission. Both are probably valid, available bets.
I wouldn't feel bad putting a little bit on Munoz by sub, just
Yeah,
because whether or not it happens, there's a decent probability of it.
yeah. I don't have the odds in front of me for what that would be, but
That's where he needs to fight. He needs this fight to be on the ground. That's where he has I think the only advantage.
gotcha. Yeah. Well, makes sense. I'm gonna have to dig into the odds a little bit later, but I don't know. I'll look into that. For now, I'm gonna pass, not lock anything in at the moment. So let's we can move on. All right, next up on the night is gonna be Tanner Bozer and Ian. God, terrible names. Cutelaba.
Yeah, you got it. I think I might be wrong. I think it's actually pronounced Iwan.
Iwan.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
That's an
Iwan
awesome one.
and Tanner
All
Bozer.
right, so I'm going to point out something that you reminded me of a week ago, where I said I went, "Oh my God, this dude kind of looks like a punching bag, and this dude's jacked as hell." And you made the comment. I just want to remind our viewers that, which was a great point, was that a lot of times when that's the case, the guy who looks jacked as hell is because he's been cutting weight, and the guy who's got cool dad bod might just he's kind of just at the weight he's been at. So sometimes that can make a difference in how it. So you just want to be careful with appearances, right? Don't judge a book by its cover, please.
This is one of those rare cases where well, maybe not. So Tanner Bozer is actually coming down a weight class. He used to fight at heavyweight. So I don't know if that picture is new or if that's his heavyweight picture. Because
Fair point.
pictures of him on Instagram and right now and like all the pressers and stuff for this fight, he actually kind of looks like the other guy. He looks pretty fit. Um,
Must be an old picture then.
it might be, or just a bad picture. Um, yeah, he seems like he's in pretty good shape. He actually came in under the weight class limit by a couple pounds. So usually when that happens, it means he wasn't struggling to make the weight. He, seemed to do it the right way, which is
Is
good.
is light heavyweight max 210?
205.
205. Okay, yeah. So he's listed here 203. Yeah, makes sense. So anyway, so who what do you think's gonna happen here? I haven't looked at the odds on this one yet myself.
Yeah, this is one of those consistency ones that I was talking about. Cutelaba, I have a hard time with him because I keep putting money on him and I keep losing money on him. So I'm a little bit salty about like his performances. He tends to have decent performances when you don't expect them, and just horrific performances against people that he should beat.
Mhm.
He's an absolute wild card, and I don't mean that in a fun way. I mean that in a truly, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if he's even gonna like. I don't know if he's gonna gas out halfway through the first round. I don't know if he's gonna dominate. I don't know. Tanner Boser is a little unpredictable as well, just because he's coming down a weight class. And what made him really good at heavyweight was that he was a smaller, more athletic heavyweight. Those
Mhm.
advantages aren't there at 205. So
What does
he's
that translate to in the octagon exactly?
the heavyweight class, like for Tanner Boser, it's translated to being able to have better cardio, more technical striking. Look at like the
See.
recent champ Cyril Gahn, where he was
Okay.
just like a fantastic kickboxer, super athletic against like sloppy heavyweights who just want to brawl. Tanner
Okay.
Boser had that advantage. Had up and down over the last few fights, but he's coming down to light heavyweight, which I don't know. I think he's only ever had one fight at light heavyweight. I think he's had a couple catch weights, which is there's in between weight classes. So I don't know what to expect out of him at 205. So they're both a little unpredictable in that regard, but
Mhm.
I'm done losing money on Kurlava. So I'd rather take a shot on the other guy on Bozer. He's still good. He's still technical. He's still all the things he was at heavyweight. He just doesn't have the advantage that comes with that as much anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. I mean, he overall, it's a close fight. Let's pull up the odds. Just switch over. I'm sorry, still on Gutierrez. Quickly find Bozer. Yeah, the market. It's interesting. They favor Cutelaba a little bit. We got -130. But you'd have to find. You can see that it's kind of all over the place on Bozer, actually, down to +100 in some places, +105, and Caesars you can still get +115. So just honestly, based on everything you just said, I kind of want to lock in the Caesars +115 on Bozer. I'm just gonna put a half a unit on that because we're like you said, we're not really sure, and there's always a chance that Cutelaba just shows up. And so this one, it sounds more like a 50-50 fight. Um, but I can get a little better than 50-50 odds. So, like I said, half a unit, small little bet um, for me, if you will. More interesting, I guess, if you will, is the over under set at 1.5. I guess to your point before, what do you think? What do you think there? Because I don't know. It's interesting that it's set at 1.5 with the of course the over being the favorite. It's just interesting.
I kind of like the under there, to be honest with you, because this has potential to be just stupid, silly chaos. And I don't
Interesting.
mean that in a way that it's like, wow, what a great fight. I mean that in a way of like, what the hell are these guys doing? Like,
Sloppy, sloppy.
yeah, yeah. And like Cutelaba, I don't know if you recall, I think it was when he fought Anklov, maybe? I don't know. I don't remember. Uh, but he was like on the feet playing possum.
Like,
like pretending he got knocked out, and then the ref called it.
really?
Yeah, that was the Ankalev fight. Yeah.
I don't remember that actually.
Yeah, so he was like on the feet, like pretending like he was wobbled, and he was like doing this whole thing. And then he
Okay.
took another shot, and the ref jumped in and stopped the fight.
Uh,
I had money on him. He was totally fine. He was just like,
wow.
I was so mad. I was like, what are you like? Come on. Like, you know better. Like, that's one of
Wow.
those things. Like, don't pretend like you're hurt or knocked out. Don't ever say I can't breathe. Like, those are things you just don't do because the ref's going to call the fight. And he did that.
Yeah.
That's the kind
Yeah.
of wild card I'm talking about.
That's insane, but hilarious. All right. All right. That inspires me a little bit. So in this particular case, I'm gonna have to jump around the books. No parlay here because I want to get the best odds I can on every bet. So, like you said, so I'll spread it around, do a half unit on Bozer at Caesars, and then we can get +120 on the under at WinBet. And I really just like the plus odds, honestly. I prefer the underdog if we think there's a better chance. Well, or a chance. I'll have to think about this actually, because plus 120, kind of wish it was higher, regardless. They're not really giving you much for what's probably a 30% chance at best.
I
That's
truly
tough,
don't know.
but
This is one of those. I have no idea. Anything could happen in this one.
yeah,
It'd be
that's tough.
boring too.
Well,
Like, that's the thing is I truly don't know what to expect between these two guys.
yeah, no, I hear you. So anyway, I'm gonna lock in Bozer then at Caesars at plus 115. Still do the half unit, and then consider. I don't know. That's a tough one. So
Yeah.
that.
Sling.
Hmm.
And I don't know, there's so many times I've said, like, if he can just wrestle the guy, he'll be fine.
But he
Because
doesn't.
Rozier as well is prone to being taken down. Of course, he's prone to being taken down by heavyweights. So I don't really know how that translates here. That's a big question mark for me. But again, I've said it so many times before. If Kudalaba can wrestle the guy and hold him down, he's fine. But he just never. I never know what he's thinking. I never know what he's going to do.
Shout out Shinedown. You quoted a lyric in there.
Did I?
You did.
What is that?
I forget now. I'll have to watch it back, but I caught it for a second. No, don't remove that. All right. Just locking that in on Caesars. You said you've seen it so many times before. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. Well, at least it wasn't original. Since I don't deserve to be wearing a death metal hat if I'm quoting Shinedown.
Good point. All right, next up, it's another light heavyweight fight. Justin Jacoby, who's often a fan favorite, and then, God, every fight. Mirzakhanov. Mirzakhanov. Didn't even bother with the first part. Azama. The wine.
It's the
Mirzakhanov. Anyway, yeah. So Jacoby certainly a frequent fan favorite. But what do you think here?
Yeah, so this one I go the other way on, where I keep losing money on Dustin Jacoby because I keep betting against him. I don't want to do that again. He's been on a pretty good tear, and he's one of those guys who did the work. I think he had a couple UFC fights early in his career. I think like 2010 to 2012. Lost basically all of his like UFC fights. I think he only had 2 or 3, and then just like took like 8 years off from the UFC. Like did kickboxing and stuff like that, and then came back 3 years ago, and has kind of just been beating everybody. I think he lost his last fight, but it was extremely, extremely close, and you can make an argument that he should have won it against Khalil Rountree.
All right.
In any case, Mirzakhanov is one of those light heavyweights that people just don't know exists and people forget about. But he's 12-0. He's won all his fights in the UFC, obviously. He's Russian.
You sure? Are you sure that's what that means?
Yeah, 12-0. He's lost 12 times. He can wrestle because he's Russian. He can wrestle. He's got the OV at the end of his name. We haven't seen it a lot. He's really been more of a stand-up guy. He's got an incredibly mean left hook. So the question mark for me is how much is Mirzakhanov going to wrestle? I don't know. He hasn't really done it before. I don't know if he's scared of Jacoby's kickboxing because he is a really sharp kickboxer. If he feels like he can't keep up there, maybe he'll start to employ the wrestling. But I'm going to lean to Jacoby. I think he's longer. I think he's a good kickboxer. I think he can keep a distance, decent wrestling defense. You could, I think a lot of people would lean at this being an early finish for one of the two. I kind of feel like Jacoby is going to want to just keep this at his range and ride out the 3 rounds.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, let's take a look at the odds. So not the best, kind of all over the place. If you look at the over/under, my eyes were drawn to that quickly. Jacoby is the favorite on the market. Let's see, he's also kind of all over the place, as high as 170 at Fliff. which is a lot of these are popping up lately. Side tangent, but these like Underdog and Prize Picks, and now Fliff is another one where you can basically just build parlays, which is interesting. They're not great, but the only good thing about them is that since they're new, they often they offer better odds sometimes. Certainly not in this case though. So anyway, so you can see I like Jacoby minus 150 at DraftKings, all the way up to my minus 168, minus 165. When it comes to fights, just from the Las Vegas history of fighting, I do have a personal bias towards things like MGM and Caesars that have traditionally been the places that the big fights happen. This is true of boxing too. I think sports books just have a slight edge on that in that way. So I like to lean that way myself. So like you lean towards fighters. Given sports, different sports books behave differently. They have different insiders. They know different things. So shout out Sweet Ian, Ryan L. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I like it. Like everything you said, Jacoby sounds like he's just right for this fight. Minus 150 at DraftKings. I'm comfortable laying that. What I wanted to point out before was actually when we were on the fight page was the reach and height advantage. Jacoby's got about a 4-5 inch height advantage and a 5-inch, 4.5 inch reach advantage. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I don't need to lock that in right this second, but I do like at DraftKings you can get Justin Jacoby. We never love laying odds. You got to bet 150 to win 100, but I don't know. I like your handicap, and can't only bet on underdogs. So we'll take Jacoby minus 150. I'm down with that. All right, next up, we're going to have Barboza and Billy Quarantillo. So let me pull the fight up. Oh, I already had it up.
Yeah, it's there.
What's that?
It's there.
Oh, good. All right, so we got a couple featherweights. Pretty evenly matched in terms of height, weight. Actually, no, Barboza's got quite the reach advantage despite their similar height. So, yeah, what do you got here?
Yeah, this could end up being another passing of the torch situation. Barboza is another one of those guys that's a legend. He's fought all the legends. He's fought everybody. 22-11. Billy Q, shout out Buffalo. Actually, did some training out in Buffalo.
Really?
Big Bills fan, actually, I think.
Hell yeah. Well, now I know who I'm betting on.
Oh, yeah, that's it. I'm done. I don't have to say anymore. No, so this is, again, one of those fights that is going to come down to pressure and pace, similar to the Guida fight. Barboza's style in the past has slanted, has been stay at range, throw kicks that knock people out. That's what he's been known for. That's what he's good at. And that's what he's done very, very well. Where he has struggled is when people get right up in his face, close the distance so that he can't throw those kicks. Billy Q is one of those guys who's going to push the pace, get like all up in his grill, not let him extend. He'll take a punch to throw a punch. I don't know if Barboza still has the power in his hands to knock him out. And even if he did, Billy Q has shown repeatedly that not only does he have the cardio to push that pace, but he has the durability to take those punches to give one back. So again, anything could happen, but I'm kind of relying and leaning on the pace of Billy Q over Barboza's like credentials.
Got you. All right, let's switch back. Let's get to the Barboza fight. Billy Quarantillo. Yeah, so the market's got kind of like what you said, and just similar to the last fight about passing of the torch, where Quarantillo, sorry, is the pretty heavy favorite here. Minus 170, minus 165 is the best you can find. Interested FanDuel's way up at minus 188. So always interested. FanDuel, for the record, some sports books don't what's called originate and make their own lines. They often just wait to see what the quote unquote sharp books do and then will follow. DraftKings is not a sharp book usually. You'll find that I I often make my bets on DraftKings. FanDuel is they're kind of different in the market. They do originate, they do make their own lines. It's just that they're better at some sports than others, and you can often find sometimes you can just find opportunities at FanDuel a lot of the time anyway. But in any case, yeah, the market's kind of up and down on this. With FanDuel, it's almost like they know something, but you never want to actually assume that. I don't know. It's a tough one to bet because, like you said, it sounds like Quarantillo is probably the right favorite, and at minus 170, really not happy laying those odds. And then the over under, the market's kind of either way on this. 2.5 really could go either way. So probably just gonna pass on this one. Not much I can find.
Parlay fodder, maybe.
If you like parlays, it could be. Yeah, if you like parlaying favorites just to get the better odds, we're pretty confident. We could do a passing of the torch parlay. It'd be a fun one.
Yeah, we'll just name all our parlays. I like that.
Yeah, why not?
This could be one to live bet too, I think.
Yeah. In which way?
In that, we'll see what Quarantillo does in the first round, but I think any of the 3 rounds are his to win. It could be the kind of thing where he starts wearing Barboza down in the first and second round, and then maybe you throw a little bit on a KO in the third or a technical knockout, just some kind of finish. Or the same way, if Barboza has a strong first round, I'm still looking at the live line on Billy Q because he has the ability to push the pace in the second and third rounds, where I don't know if Barboza still has that.
I like that idea. So basically, if Quarantillo comes out looking slow, but not getting his ass kicked, perhaps consider when the odds come down taking him. It's a good bet. If I held you down and forced you to make a bet on Billy Q, would you take by points or by finish?
I'm gonna pick finish because that sounds fun, and I'd like to see that.
Hell yes.
I could see it. I really could see it being a case where he just wears him down for a couple rounds and then finishes in the third. I've seen Barboza get finished, usually on guys taller and longer than him, which isn't necessarily the case here. But he's 37. He's seen it all. He's been through it. I could see him getting worn down.
Yeah, makes sense. So, all right, and let's jump back to the fight card and take a look at our main event of the night, which is just be a really fun one. I love both these fighters, Max Holloway and Arnold Allen, featherweight main event. So, yeah, what do you think is going to happen here?
This will be fun to watch. Up and down this whole like main card, just every fight. I'm like, this is going to be fun. There's it's all just good matchups. And anytime Max Holloway fights, it's exciting. I think he has, I don't recall if it's the feather. It's definitely at least the featherweight record. It might be the UFC record, if not top 3, for like most strikes landed, like period total.
Oh, wow.
He just has an extremely high output. I don't know if that information's on there, but
they just have like significant strike accuracy percentage.
Significant strikes landed per minute. That's what the LPM.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, 6 strikes.
And you can see his output is extremely high.
Yeah, 7.24.
Yeah,
compared to 3.4 against Allen, just for comparison.
And that's not like significant strike. It's like kind of loosely defined. It's not just the number of times he hits the guy. It's like ones that like landed clean and did damage. So you could throw 1,000 jabs and 1 knockout punch and have 1 significant strike.
Yeah. I'm actually curious, just real quick, on where kicks come in, because you see a lot of times like certain guys have a clear strategy for leg kicks and trying to bruise the calf or thigh, and it always seems to me like that's like, it seems like that wouldn't be so significant, but I'm guessing it is.
Yeah, well, and that's actually relevant to this fight, I think, because Allen he's a pretty good fundamental boxer and kickboxer. He'll land those leg kicks, and he'll probably want to keep Holloway back because Holloway is such a prolific boxer in his own right. Arnold will throw a lot of punches to the body as well. He'll do a lot of body work, whereas Holloway's always been more of a leg kicks and more of a head puncher, head hunter. He just goes for the always goes for the head.
Good. It's a
Which
smart
is
strategy.
the reason that's relevant. Well, body shots fucking hurt. So sounds like a smart strategy, but I'd rather get punched in the eye than in the
Who
liver.
who was it last week? Went down to like a couple liver shots. There was a TKO on like liver shots. This was last
Yeah,
week.
that happens a lot
Yeah.
because you can't like you can defend it, but like a head punch, you can have a strong chin and like maybe shake it off, clear the haze, go for a takedown, buy your time. You get hit with one of those in the body or the liver, your body shuts down. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
You literally like
nope,
who
we're done.
was he?
Go to bed.
Yeah. He literally just dropped. Like just you literally you're right.
Yeah,
Like the body is
yeah,
just like it's like survival mode just drops.
yeah,
Scary.
yeah. So yeah, I don't really see that happening here. Holloway is too good at keeping his distance. But where I was going with that and the reason that's relevant is the judging. If this does go to a decision, because leg kicks, it's kind of a little bit some weeks it seems like it has a higher impact on scorecards. Other weeks it seems like not really. So it
Mhm.
depends on the week. It depends on the judges. I don't think there's been consistency in how much they favor leg kicks versus like body shots don't really ever seem to be regarded unless they're like extremely clear and repetitive.
Yeah.
And that's where Holloway, I think, might have a little bit of advantage because if you're a judge and you're watching a fight and it's in real time, you don't have the privilege of replay or slow motion or anything like that. And you just see a guy's head getting popped back repeatedly, you're going to award the point to the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. The judging is always an interesting aspect of it, and always
Yeah.
interesting too. I mean, it's funny because they show the judges, and this is true. Like when you bet NFL, referee trends come into play, and I wouldn't be shocked to learn that there's some judging trends in UFC.
Yeah, they've got some certain tendencies. Um, this is a big fight for Arnold Allen. This is a big fight for both guys. Trying to get to the belt. Allen, I think, has won like 8 in a row in the UFC, I think. Holloway, we know his pedigree. He's been fighting. He debuted, I think, he was 19 years old when he debuted, right? He's fought everybody, holding records right now. He was
Yeah.
a champion for a long time. He's tried to get the belt back. He's 31 now. He's only 31. It's insane to me how many fights he has and how long he's been around.
Yeah, he's 23-7, so 30 total fights in UFC at 31.
Yeah. So Allen is surging. He's got the ability, I think, to beat Holloway potentially by a knockout. I think it would have to be a knockout. And again, pace and pressure is coming into play because nobody's going to outpace Max Holloway. So if it goes the distance, which Max Holloway has had more, I think I was looking this up today. He's had more 5-round fights in the UFC than Arnold Allen has had fights in the UFC. And 5-round fights being either main event or title fight or both.
Yeah.
So he really shines later in the fight. So I think if this fight goes into like second, third round, and then beyond that, this is Holloway's. He's just going to cruise, I think, the whole way. I don't think he's going to finish Allen. He's not really a big finisher, but what he does to people, just with his pace, with his sharpness and his speed, he just it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of thing. But with him, it's like death by 1,000 jabs. It's insane. What he did to like Calvin Kattar, like haunts my nightmares.
Right.
Just beat him up for 5 rounds. Just hit him like I don't even know how many times. Just at will. Just hit him in the face over and over again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So the market, unfortunately, agrees generally with your handicap. So Holloway's a pretty heavy favorite. Again, it's where FanDuel's up to like 188 and MGM minus 185, but DraftKings Caesar's a little lower, 165. And then this is a little more interesting to me is if you can get the over. I can get it at minus 125 right now, which is off market and kind of to your handicap point. That feels like something I'd be willing to lay minus 125 on over 4.5, just based on what you said, and just finding it at that price. Holloway though, that's tough. That's just tough. I mean, like you said, it's likely he'll win. It's just tough to lay minus 165. So again, I mean, you could throw Holloway in with our torch passing parlay. Passing of the torch parlay. It's easier to say it that way. Passing of the torch parlay. gonna go back to the fight. So yeah, who would that be? It would be Holloway, Billy Q, and
Yeah, if we're going that way, so Holloway would keep the torch, but it would be
okay,
Holloway, Billy Q, and then it would be
Gutierrez.
Gutierrez.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so Billy Q and Gutierrez are the torch takers. They're taking the torch, and yeah, Holloway keeping it, but yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a nice 3-leg parlay of money line. So cool. Is there anything in the prelims you like that's interesting in general? We covered the whole main card. I like TJ. I would just like TJ Brown as a fighter. He's fun to
Yeah,
watch.
he's fun. He's fun. I really am not. I'm not. That's one I'm gonna just stay away from because I kind of just want to watch it. I have no idea what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Couple interesting things on this. Uh, let's see. I like Lando Venata, but it's not really one I want to talk about. Groovy Lando, they call him. He's a fun guy to watch, but uh, I don't even know Zellhuber. Zellhuber?
Zaluber.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's surging. So that's when I look at the line. I would have to imagine that Zellhuber is the favorite, and it's probably for a good reason.
Not a huge
Above that,
favorite. Minus 130. Sorry to interrupt, but minus
no,
130. It's not huge for him.
yeah, that's just going to be a fun fight. It's going to be crazy. The
Mhm.
one right above that, Jillian Robertson, super submission specialist, also from I believe Niagara Falls, Canada. So shout out Buffalo area.
Right
Again,
on. Right on.
um, I mean, her record is not good. She loses a lot of fights, but when she wins by submission almost every time.
Okay.
Rodriguez, when she wins by TKO most of the time. I think Rodriguez is coming down, or no, Robertson's coming down a weight class, which here might make sense because I think that means that her and her coach like something about this fight. Rodriguez is a sloppy wrestler, but she tries to wrestle a lot. So Robertson could catch her in a submission, and that's where she shines.
That's interesting. Let me switch back to the odds real quick because on this you can get the under 2.5 for plus odds at like DraftKings or WinBet, which I do have. Few people even know this exists, but WinBet, I don't hate them as a sports book yet. Plenty of chance to still piss me off, but so far so good. DraftKings, yeah, I don't know, plus 105 on the under kind of sounds like a bet there. Robertson is the favorite at minus 125. Not too much delay, or minus 120 at Caesars. You can do that. So I'm gonna put something on the under here for I like that just based on what you said there.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna be reckless probably and even put a little bit just straight up on Robertson by sub. I don't know what the line is, but that feels like a probability to me. But yes, your advice is probably better and safer and more reliable.
Yeah, I try to avoid like parlays and getting too cute just because I don't have the best way. Like the true like this is gonna get boring for like 2 seconds. Bear with me. But if you the true way to do it is you actually set a probability to everything. You would say, okay, what's the act? What do you think it's 10% likely Jillian Robertson gets a sub? 20%. Like once you set the probability to it, then you just match it to the line, and it's really it. And it really comes down to if you're good at setting the probabilities. When I do college basketball, there's an actual data model, an advanced data model that I use for it to set the probabilities. It's not my model, but there's a known good model out there for college basketball. There's a few for sports. I haven't found one for UFC. Have to build our own. We'll download Ian's brain and we'll feed it into GPT, and we will build some sort of, I don't know, automated UFC model system on Ian's brain.
UFC GPT.
UFC GPT.
Put that on a list, please.
Where's that been all my life?
All right, so that's that fun one against all odds, and I didn't even realize this guy was still fighting. Ed Herman. I think he debuted when I was like a sophomore in
He's
high school.
he's 42. He's
He's been
almost
fighting, I think,
oh,
for 16, 17 years.
almost Tom Brady's age.
Yeah. Which, by the way, next stream, let's just not do any of this and just watch 80 for Brady live on this.
You guys want to watch a stream 80 for Brady? You and I, we can tickle fight. We'll watch 80 for Brady and tickle fight.
Yeah,
That'll get
me down and ask my opinion on things.
I'd get a different type of viewer.
Yeah,
that would be behind a paywall. Yeah, that'll be behind a paywall for sure. Yeah, that's funny. This looks like
this is gonna be a stupid fight.
Yeah,
it's
like
at all. It's just like I don't know. It's like uncles fighting at a barbecue. That's what this fight's gonna be, and it's gonna be fun. Yeah. It's gonna be chaotic, and I don't know. That's kind of how a lot of this card is just gonna be.
Yeah, be careful with the like age stuff these days. You're like uncles at a bar. This dude is 2 years older than me. Not ideal. I don't look it, but it's the case.
Well, you haven't taken hundreds and hundreds of punches in your life to the face.
That's true.
It does things to the skin and bones and structure.
I also haven't thrown hundreds and hundreds of punches in my life. I've probably thrown 5 punches in my life. 5 total.
Were they significant punches?
No, at least 3 were probably at a car.
That's significant.
You're right.
I mean, if you ask the judge
to my fit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the car, it wasn't significant to the car. It hurt my hand probably.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, well.
I actually wanted to talk about Brandon Royval versus Matheus Nicolau. This is actually a good betting fight. Brandon Royval is a guy who does a little bit of everything, striking, and got a good jiu-jitsu game, but he's a little too overconfident in his jiu-jitsu game. Mm-hmm. He likes to make fights not make sense. That's like his whole thing. He said something recently in an interview, and he has said this over and over again. He's like, I control the chaos, or I thrive in the chaos, or something like that, meaning he just likes fights that are sloppy and silly. And when he wins fights, he does so by doing that against guys who get overwhelmed by it or fall for it. Nicolau's not that guy. So this is actually a bad matchup, I think, for Royval, because Royval is going to do his thing where he's like, yeah, let's get in a bar fight. And Nicolau is going to be like, no, I'm a martial artist. I'm going to just pick you apart.
Yeah. The market generally agrees there too. Nicolau is the pretty heavy favorite near -200, but the over-unders, at least decent fair odds, -105 on the over. What do you think what do you think there? Any good bet on that?
No, I think it really could go either way. I would lean Nicolau. Royval, I mean, just the way he fights, he could potentially overwhelm, get frustrated, and just kind of go all in. And when guys go all in, one of two things happens, but either way, it's a finish.
Yeah, gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah, it's tough to bet that because when the market generally agrees, which has happened quite a bit tonight, actually. I'm kind of curious. We got to track this somehow. I wonder if I could, but like we've noticed ourselves, we honestly do a little better on pay-per-views, but I do wonder if that could be because pay-per-views are meant to be a little more unpredictable, and that gives us the edge, honestly, because Ian's so goddamn smart when it comes to UFC that it when things are a little more unpredictable and he kind of guides us and where to go with the odds, that I wonder if that's the case. But yeah, and that would make the flip side of that is that the books are a little bit tighter on a little more tuned into the smaller fight nights. Hard to say, just kind of spitballing.
Yeah, I think this is one of those under the radar fight nights that, like, same thing that happened to us. Until we looked at it, we were like, okay. I knew Holloway was fighting. I knew it was a Holloway card, but a lot of the other fights on here, I was like, oh, Jacoby's fighting. Oh, Cutelava's fighting. Oh, Munoz. Oh, Guida's fighting. Ed fucking Herman's fighting.
Everybody. Yeah, it should be a good night. So, yeah, well, we obviously don't have the rights to stream UFC, or we would. It'd be boring to just watch us watching UFC, I think. So we don't stream tomorrow during the fights. But cheers to everybody. Good stuff tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. When's the next pay-per-view? Do you know? It's off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, I'm gonna Google it.
Off the top of your Google.
It's not for a while because we just had one last week.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, it's about once a month.
May 6th is the next one. That is the that's pretty good. It's the Sterling Cejudo one, and then Charles Oliveira, Beneil Dariush. Good fights. Yeah, up and down. That's a pretty good one.
Oh yeah. All right, right on. Well, all right, we'll wrap up a little early tonight, but yeah, be a good fight tomorrow. So cheers to everyone out there in Sugar Bets land. Happy betting. Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, bud.